Hello, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Prog Review. Today, because we just do Spotify, because let's face it, it can't have the physical product all the time, because I'm not made of money. Wish I was, but we do it with Spotify. Spotify is our friend. Streaming is our friend. And today, that was Battle's fourth album, count it, Juice B Crypts. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Last time we caught up with them, it was La Di Da back in 2015, and I think I reviewed it. You know, I've been following them since Mirrored, all the way back in 2007. Yeah, I mean, you wanted obscure? We're giving you obscure battles. They're obscure. Someone's complaining that I don't do obscure. I'm doing obscure now, though they are highly regarded. So yeah, this is the fourth album, and it's more of the same, but this time only 40 minutes of it, so that's quite nice. If you're not familiar with them, they're now a duo. Ian Williams on guitar keyboards, Ableton Push, that's an instrument, and apparently, and John Stanier on drums and percussion. They are a percussion and synthesizer led band. It is very what can I call it? Lots of arpeggiated bleeps and bloops and drones and things, and lots of very intense action, especially on the percussion front. They've lost their bassist, unfortunately. He's not on this album, Dave Konopka, who and it kind of notices. I thought there was a bit of a lack of bass end on it, which is a shame, especially when you've got such a great rhythm section, and that's what you listen to it for. Largely instrumental. Starts off with Ambulance, which I liked. Thought it was quite a good groove. But again, it's just them doing what they do. But it's even more intense. Everything is up to 11, and that's what I have a problem. I have a problem with this. There's no breathing space. It is for an old man like me. It is quite intense, and quite overdone. I think it's a great shame, really, because I like. I've got a lot of time for them, and it is different, but you feel like they are reploughing that furrow. They've gone backwards, because this, I think, probably owes more to, was it Gloss Drop from 2011 than from La Di Da. So yeah, I feel there's a bit of a step backwards with this record. Again, a loop so nice is good. The note which they play it twice. That's the third track, featuring Xenia Rubinos. You do have some guest stars, and the guy who's on the fourth track, you may know, Sugarfoot is the title of the song, features a young singer. You might not, Mr. Accrington Stanley himself. That's John Anderson. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he appears burbling all over it, which is quite interesting to hear. It's almost like an a cappella thing going on with his voice. Complements it quite well. I thought it was very interesting. Like that. The one I thought, one of the standout tracks was Titanium Two-Step featuring Sal Principato, and for me it was almost as if David Byrne and Talking Heads had mated with Battles. It sounded a bit 1980s new wave. All it needed was like I say, some David Byrne vocals. Wasn't a big fan of IZM with Shabazz Palaces. Juice B Crypts, the title track, I just thought it was just, again, so much. It is so dense and so intense. It's very, it's a lot of it. There's a lot of it, if you know what I mean. If you listen to this, you go, wow, there is a lot to digest, because they push. It's just And so how I can describe it, it is like a very thick electronica meal soup to digest, and because there isn't any space, there isn't any air, any breathing space this time around. I felt completely bombarded by it and a bit exhausted by the end. The final 2 tracks features Tune Yards. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're quite good fun, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good way of rounding off the record. It's not a perfect, I mean, it's interesting. I wouldn't say it's their best. I do think, when you're doing this kind of really intense, high energy music, you do need, on an album, I mean, individually, the individual tracks are great, but when you've got an album of it and it's like boom, 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 one after the other, and you feel a lot of those textures are the same, because it's a lot of bleepy and bloopy. Don't get me wrong, I like bleepy and bloopy. I like electronic music, I like synthesizers, but you do feel, oh god, not that noise again, not that. It texturally all begins to sound the same, and that's a great shame. I think they need to broaden their palette somewhat, because they do some interesting stuff. It is interesting, but I think a whole album of it now, I think they need to, move on a bit. I think they need to, like I say, move on to pastures new. So yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the last album, but it's still good to have a Battles album. A lot of you lot ain't gonna like it. You wanted obscure, you wanted rare, you wanted. I've given it to you. There you go, Louis. What's your name? Louis Cossette. Louis Cossette. There you go. He was complaining that I'm only doing like albums that are popular to get the views. Duh. Of course, that's what we do. We want the views. We don't want to do obscure rubbish that nobody's heard of, because nobody would watch the videos. I pepper my channel very lightly with that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't say I'm somebody that goes for a lot of obscure stuff. I'm not one of those kind of people. And if I did, I wouldn't necessarily try and bring you to it, because you probably wouldn't like it. But Battles are well respected, and all the hip kids, all the youngsters like Battles. So I'm trying to get some of you oldsters into something a bit new, even though Battles aren't new. But they're always interesting. It's like a real interesting, high energy, not quite dance. You can't dance to it. Electronica. And the guests are interesting. So yeah, I mean, in terms of a rating, I'm going to give this 2 Sugar Feet out of 5. That's 2 Sugar Feet out of 5. Just because I think, again, it's not as bad. I just think it all gets a bit familiar now. It's all like, yeah, we know what you do, and there's no real development to it. There's no real, they've not really brought anything else to the table. And I think, again, they need guitars, they need basses, they need something else just to break up the texture, because it is just a little bit too samey. But yeah, I found it exhausting, and very. I need to have a lie down now, if that's okay, if that's all right with you. So anyway, that was Battles and their album. I've got to get it right because I'll say it wrong. Juice Be Crypts. Oh, there you go. And maybe we'll get another one. It's like 4 or 5 years between albums, which is how it should be. And that's it. Thank you for watching. There's only one more thing left to say, and that is, are you ready? Of course, they're always ready, aren't they? You're always ready. Are you ready? Good. And that is Prog on.